Oh my God. Like I said, bar none, the best sound in the morning. We live right now. Today is before 6 a.m. Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. And we're doing pretty good right now. I hope you're doing pretty good right now. I hope you're going what? I don't know why I'm nervous talking to you. I've been doing this for almost a year and podcasting over almost, is it 2 years? About 14, 15 months, something like that. This whole video thing, it's been almost a year and it's been really well. So what are we going to be talking about today? I actually did a video earlier in the week and I want to talk about it in this scenario, this situation, this medium, this platform, this whatever you want to call this thing. We're talking about old coffee. Are we blowing old coffee out proportion when we're talking about specialty coffee? Let's go ahead and have a sip and let's talk about it, okay? It's not bad. Had it a couple days ago. It's tasty. There are some caveats to drinking old coffee. One thing that I did notice or have noticed, which you probably haven't really noticed much when you're drinking old coffee because you're a specialty coffee drinker. You don't drink old coffee. So you don't know the ins and outs of terrible or just off-putting, or I'm just using all these adjectives that we describe with old coffee. But we don't know much of, because specialty coffee, we don't really drink old coffee. Normal people, they drink old coffee all the time. And we bash them. We talk about them. I talk about them too. We say, what are you doing? What are you missing? There's a lot of things that we go through this rabbit hole of talking about when we're talking about coffee, right? Especially if it's well past the roast date. This coffee in particular is 9 months past the roast date. I actually roasted this coffee. I gave it out to a business that sells other stuff. And it was doing pretty well before, but now I don't know if the business is going to be there much longer, and people only come there sometimes here and there. So I picked up a couple bags, and I thought that this would be a good topic to talk about. This coffee in particular is either my Brazilian or my Mexican coffee. It is 9 months off roast. 9 months. And why would you taste that? And this coffee is ground too. I do have the same version that's whole beans, but for the most part, it tastes more so the same, which is kind of interesting. I guess after a while they equalize. So the ground coffee and the whole bean coffees, even when I grind the whole beans coffees, it doesn't really matter as much as you would think. And I was really shocked by that. And this coffee, it does have some notes that I'm very familiar with. I think this is more leaning towards the Mexican coffee. The Mexican coffee to me is a little bit more layered. It has a little bit more characteristic compared to the Brazilian coffee that I usually roast and sell. And I'll give out tips, and then we're going to be talking about things about coffee in general, right? There are some tips. If you by any chance somebody gifts you coffee, you should be grateful, be mindful that they're just trying to they're acknowledging your hobby. So that's one thing. Be grateful. A random person telling you to be grateful. I know that's kind of weird, but I am. Another thing is that I think after 3 or 4 months, it's considered really old coffee. I know you may ask me why, but you're going to be selling coffee on Amazon. There's ways around that to where you can give people the freshest coffee as possible, which we'll talk about in another time when we talk about my Amazon coffee. because a lot of people frown away from that because it's old ass coffee, right? So you can't brew it the same way. The big difference or the big takeaways that you can do with older coffee is that it doesn't bloom. It really doesn't bloom. So you don't have to worry about the violet nature of the coffee bed, of it not really reacting to your brewing techniques. If you stir, you don't stir, the way you pour the coffee and all that good stuff. That's one thing that you can look forward to because it'll be easier to brew the coffee. It has this weird lingering smell. Wouldn't say that it's fantastic, but it's kind of like a smell that just doesn't quit with older coffees. And it just lingers and lingers and lingers. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's bad, but it picks like one or two notes of the coffee when you smell it, and it just stays there. I don't know why it does that, but I have noticed that in drinking old coffee, especially when it's dry and it's not brewed. You can't roast it the same way. You can't brew it the same way. You have to brew it in a way to where it's actually a lot stronger than the way that you usually go about drinking that coffee. Okay. So if you're doing a 1-to-15 ratio, do a 1-to-10. If you're doing a 1-to-18, 1-to-20, do a 1-to-14 ratio. Something like that. Because something about the characteristic of the coffee, it doesn't have the oomph that it did when it was fresh. You have to put more, I guess, energy. You have to make it a little bit stronger in order to really enjoy it. And even when you do that, you're not going to get any kind of crazy, like, this coffee is too strong for me. It'll more than likely taste like something that you will drink on a regular, whatever ratio that you go with this particular coffee or coffees like this. Okay. Let me swallow a little bit because my mouth is like, it does that when I have too much liquid in my mouth, but whatever. And it does have that strong taste. The smell kind of translates a little bit and lingers a little bit longer too. So another tip that I will give you when you are drinking, experimenting with oat coffee, have fun with it, experiment with it, try things that you haven't tried before, push the boundaries, have fun with it, do things that you don't normally do. Think of any crazy, wacky recipes that you see online that you are thinking about that you didn't want to do with your expensive coffee. Try that. Do those things. Because it's older coffee. Why not? You don't have nothing really to lose. You're just trying to enjoy it for whatever it is, you know? And I would highly suggest you to drink it with people. See what they think about the coffee. Don't tell them it's old. Just tell them that you want to drink coffee with them and see what they say about it. See if they like it. See what they don't like about it. Use them as a cupping apparatus to understand their palates a little bit more. So then when it's time for you to give them coffee that's fresher, then you can go about doing that in a way to where you're capturing things, notes that they like about coffee. It's another way to just give back to other people as they're giving you back this old coffee. So those are the biggest tips that I can give you about this particular coffee, this type of coffee. And now let's talk about oat coffee and specialty coffee. Are we overblowing this whole logic, this whole thing about coffee, how old it is? I think to an extent we are. I guess the beauty of specialty coffee is that we don't have coffees that are way too old. We don't really subscribe to that. We're big advocates about telling people about drinking their coffee as quickly as possible so they can enjoy it, so then they can buy another bag and they can keep buying more bags and all that good stuff, right? As you can see, I'm on my soapbox a little bit. But I guess what I'm saying is that coffee is what it is. We've all experienced coffee when it was extremely fresh, which I don't highly recommend because it's still kind of working out its kinks. and it gets better with a little bit of age. But how much age is enough? You know, I used to be on this whole thing of telling people it's fresh, 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 fresh. And then I started to question myself, what does fresh really mean? Like when you think about it on a more broader scale, what does fresh mean? Can I say that this bowl of rice is fresh? To the extent if it was actually made that day or whatnot. But what about the whole beans? That's a story for another day, right? The grains itself. How old are the grains? So when you actually make the rice, in this example, how fresh truly really is it? Can you really taste the difference in essence in the characteristics of what that thing, that grain, that food really is when we're actually experiencing it? Those are some of the things that I think about constantly of like, what are we really talking about here? Are we talking about freshness? Is it just another way that we can give people or an understanding of a marketing spill of like, this coffee is fresh? Because what I've noticed actually is that a lot of specialty coffee people, they don't really lean into the whole freshness thing. They already know that it's fresh, but they like to get rid of the coffee as quickly as soon as possible. It's survival technique, I think. It's one of those things to the point to where we want to give people the best light of that coffee. And I think that's part of the whole allure of it, because when I give you something, I want it to be representative of what I believe this coffee is at its best. And if we don't do that, then I think we lose our sense of honor, our sense of pride, and our sense of what we care about deeply when we're giving it out to people or just enjoying it for whatever it is. Because I think that's one of the beauties of coffee is that when we drink it, we know that it's probably presented to us in the best light. And that part right there is the freshness part. But as I drink this coffee right now, 9 months off roast, what does that really mean to specialty coffee? I think there is a limit. I would say 3 to 4 months should be the limit of any coffee, more than anything. And I think as you drink it, more than anything, as you go through this whole journey with that particular coffee, is you have to change a couple parameters. You have to brew a lot stronger. You have to change up more things in order to kind of get the same essence of what that coffee was. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things to where we are experiencing coffee the best way, the best light that we can. And are we blowing this whole freshness thing out the water? I think we are to an extent. Freshness is extremely important. It is something that presents the coffee in the best light that we can. However, let's not beat up our people who drink coffees that don't really care about that, because we can be mindful and help them out to let them know of what a fresh coffee is. Give them an opportunity to taste a fresh cup of coffee, to experience it for whatever it is. Because like I said, as I'm drinking this coffee, I'm getting those weird, lingering tasting notes. And it just kind of just stays with you a little bit. And this coffee is not complex at all. It tastes the way that it did in the beginning, as it is now, as it's properly cooled down to room temp. But I can still appreciate this old ass coffee. And I hope that you will get a chance to do that too. And it's easy. It's easy to get a chance to witness old coffee. Go to the grocery store, see a roast by best date or whatever, and then do a 6-7 months or whatever before that. And then that'll give you an understanding of when that coffee probably was roasted. Or talk to the roaster or talk to the company and ask them if they can give you the actual date that this coffee was roasted. And then go to the store and taste that coffee. Drink that coffee. See if you like it. See if you don't like it. See how you can make it better. Because we beat up on coffee, on the way the coffee is presented and prepared a lot of times. But if we can have appreciation of coffee that's not in its best light, how can we truly, really enjoy it? And let's not beat up everybody else about this too. I have friends, I have people who drink my coffee all the time. And sometimes they drink the coffee for a lot longer than I would like them to. See what I'm saying? I'm trying to dictate the way somebody else drinks my coffee that they paid for. Doesn't make sense, right? So I guess what I'm saying here is that let's have a bigger and better light of understanding where people are coming from and understanding the coffee a little bit more, understanding that person. This is not a, PSA, as they would say, about everybody should enjoy anything and everything that they want to. Because at the end of the day, that's what we do anyway. And let's just take coffee, for instance, out of the picture. Let's take a sandwich. Let's take a bagel. Let's take a steak. We all have our preferences. We all do things in a way to where we are trying to truly, really understand what makes sense to us. For instance, I am actually doing an experiment right now, not even dealing with coffee. I'll tell you about right now before we leave off today, is I'm doing my own dry aged steak. I think dry aged steak is kind of BS. And I'm doing my own experiment right now. It's been in the fridge for 2 weeks. And I think it's about that time that I actually pull it, but I want to do it for a little bit longer. But I'm just experimenting. I'm just trying to see if my perceived notions of what dry aged tastes like is truly what it is, And I'm trying to understand my own perceived way of going about things in general. So I'm pushing my own boundaries in order to understand if I'm making sense into all of this. And as I drink this old coffee, this 9-month-old coffee, I'm really blown away how it's still actually presentable, it's drinkable, and there's a couple things that you have to look past. But even when you drink this coffee as fresh as possible, it's not 100% perfect. There's things that we have to do and understand to manipulate the coffee the best way that we can. I will say this though about this old coffee is that it kind of gets in the way a little bit of what truly the essence of the coffee is, because of that lingering smell and that taste that it does stay there that presents the coffee. But you can get the essence of the coffee. It's a lot easier with the freshness of coffee. So take that with the grain of salt or the ground of coffee as you best you can, and just try it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think about this. I think that if you were to be able to actually try the coffee, experience the coffee, and see for what it is in your new way of looking at coffee, you may have a decent understanding of old coffee or just coffee in general. And just think about all the things that went through to actually get that coffee to you, right? The producers, the exporters, importers, whatever they're called, the roasters, the people who roasted the coffee, and then however long it may stay out on the shelf. But then after you tasted it and it's still not up to your liking, that's perfectly fine. If old coffee is whack to you, it's old coffee is whack to you. That's perfectly fine. But there are some benefits that I have said before. So give it a try. Try some old coffee. Let me know what you think. And we'll keep this conversation going. Maybe a part 2 in the future. But I think it's very important that we do talk about these things that are maybe taboo or things that we don't do just because we are above the echelon of what we think that is special. Because this coffee was special. And to an extent, it's still kind of special. Just older, like how we get older too. So, off my soapbox. This is Oki out at Everyday Banes. Talk to you later. Bye.